Mexico woke up to fire today. Highways in flames, trucks burning, roads blocked with smoke rising into the sky. And behind all that, there's just one name: El Mencho. You know what his real name is? Nemesio Cervantes, the most wanted man in Mexico today, the head of the powerful CJNG. That's a cartel. A cartel feared for its brutality, its weapons, its reach, and now its leader, he's dead. Well, the operation happened in the state of Jalisco. Mexican security forces, they moved in, heavily armed, carefully coordinated. In fact, what followed was not a quiet arrest here. It was a firefight. Bullets exchanged, chaos on the ground, and when the smoke cleared, El Mencho, he was fatally wounded. The man who had invaded capture for years, he was all gone. If you remember, then the US had placed a $15 million bounty on his head. Well, that's one of the highest rewards ever offered for a drug kingpin. Washington accused his cartel of flooding American streets with fentanyl. In fact, fentanyl, which is extremely deadly, a synthetic opioid so powerful, so deadly that it has caused a public health crisis in the United States. Now, this was not just Mexico's war, it was international pressure building for years. But here's what happened next. The cartel did not stay silent. Within hours, retaliation exploded across multiple Mexican states. Highways were blocked, cargo trucks hijacked and set on fire. Vehicles torched in broad daylight. In fact, cities choked with black smoke. Drivers abandoned their cars and they ran. Families stayed indoors. Well, the message was clear. You take our leader, we shut down the streets. In fact, videos flooded social media, flames dancing across the street, gunshots echoing in the distant, and masked men patrolling intersection. In the meantime, for ordinary people, it felt like a war zone. Then the shockwave reached across the border. The US Embassy in Mexico issued urgent security alert. Shelter-in-place warning. Americans were told to stay inside, avoid highways, do not travel until and unless absolutely necessary. Because when cartel retaliates, violence can spread really fast. Let's understand the bigger picture here. CJNG is not a small gang. It is one of the most powerful criminal organizations in Mexico. It controls trafficking routes. It fights the rival cartels. It has a military-grade weapon. El Mencho, he built it into a global network. Well, from meth labs to fentanyl pipelines to international distribution chain. And now that command structure, it faces a vacuum. But you know what is the dangerous part here? When a cartel boss falls, peace do not automatically follow. Sometimes it gets worse. There are power struggles, internal rivalries, more violence as faction. Well, it take complete control. Mexico has seen this pattern before though. Decapitation strategy, short-term victory, long-term instability, and the timing matters. The US has been pressuring Mexico really hard to stop fentanyl trafficking, political pressure, border tension, election year debate. Washington wanted results. Now this operation delivered one, but at a cost here. The bigger question is, where does this leave Mexico now? Well, the cartel without its kingpin, highways are scarred by flames, communities bracing for what comes next, because removing a leader does not erase an entire empire overnight. It reshapes it. Sometimes violently, one man is dead, but the question remains, will his death weaken the cartel or ignite a new chapter of the bloodshed?